Welcome back to Handlebar Ventures. In today's episode, I'm going to explain how to choose a helmet in just 5 steps. But first, let me explain some common terms. There are 2 main types of helmets. You're probably most familiar with this style of helmet. The half shell. It's called the half shell because it covers half of your head. The second main type of helmet is a full face. The most protection that you can get, it has this chin bar here, which is what makes it essentially a full face because it covers your full face. Makes sense? Now there's a third. The third type is a hybrid between these two. It is a half shell helmet that has a removable chin bar so that it can be converted into a full face helmet. Next, we'll talk about ventilation. So most helmets will have some sort of ventilation, and this is to help cool you off as you move. The air will flow into the vents, over your head, and out the back. The more ventilation you have, the cooler the helmet's going to feel. If you're buying a road helmet, they will explain that the helmet is aerodynamic, and that just means that the helmet is designed to pass through the air with as little drag as possible. Having a more ventilated helmet is often a less aerodynamic helmet. Next, a common term that you might hear is this contraption called fidlock. Fidlock is just a fancy retention system. It's a little bit different than your traditional plastic clips that you're probably used to seeing. However, this is held in place by a magnet, allows for easy one-handed use. As you can see, it's very easy to work. The fidlock function is great for lift surf days. When you're taking your helmet off on the lift constantly, it makes a huge difference, especially on a full face helmet. It's definitely a feature that's nice to have. Most modern bike helmets will also come with this technology called MIPS. MIPS stands for Multi-Directional Impact Protection System. The idea behind MIPS is that it reduces the rotational forces from an angled impact. So if you were to hit your helmet at an angle like this, it's going to want to rotate. MIPS reduces that. This is good. MIPS allows the inside liner of your helmet to slide relative to the shell. That little bit of movement reduces the rotational forces that you experience in a crash when you hit something at an angle. This can reduce the risk of concussions. Some manufacturers will claim to have a liner that is antimicrobial. For example, this Troy Lee Designs helmet has what's called Ionic Plus. Others I've seen are called Ecstatic, but they have a similar concept. It is a liner, and then on top of the material is a layer of silver. Silver is an antimicrobial, and this prevents bacteria from growing on the inside lining of your helmet. This keeps the smell down and keeps it from getting gross. Next, you might hear manufacturers describe the type of foam that they're using. There are 2 main types of foam that a helmet manufacturer will use. EPP, which stands for extended polypropylene. This is often used in car bumpers or areas of where you want to reduce impact. It's not the lightest foam, but it does a great job of reducing impact, and once it is impacted, it returns to its original shape, within reason. The second is EPS, extended polystyrene. This is often used in packaging. It's very light, and it's probably the type of foam that you would consider to be styrofoam. Both have their benefits, so manufacturers typically use a combination of EPS and EPP when designing a helmet, and this will give them the best of both worlds. Before I dive into this helmet buyer's guide video, can I ask you to hit that like button and subscribe? I want this video to reach as large of an audience as possible because I feel it's very important knowledge. So help me out, hit that like button, comment below with what type of helmet that you use, if you like it, dislike it, and of course, subscribe. Now, I will explain the 5 main points that you should look for when deciding which helmet to buy. First, what type of riding are you going to be doing? Are you going to be riding cross country, trail, downhill? Are you going to be road biking? Or are you just a casual cyclist that wants to ride around your neighborhood or in the park? Each rider is going to have a very different type of helmet. For example, if you're using a cross country helmet, you're going to want it to be very light and you're going to have great ventilation, maybe even be aerodynamic. However, a casual cyclist is not going to necessarily care that the helmet is as light or as aerodynamic as possible. They just want a helmet that's going to protect their head if they have a fall and that looks nice. If you're riding downhill, you probably want the most protection possible. This is why you would use a full face commonly for downhill mountain biking because it gives you the most protection. If you're a road cyclist, you would want something that's most aerodynamic and has good ventilation. The type of riding discipline really helps determine which type of helmet that you should be purchasing. All right, so now that we've talked a little bit through what type of cycling discipline can determine what type of helmet you end up with, we'll talk about the next point. The second most important point when deciding on a helmet is the size and fit. If the helmet doesn't fit, if it's a size too small or a size too big, it's not going to do much good in the event of a crash. So make sure your helmet is sized and fits appropriately. Adding on to the fitment of the helmet, it's important that the helmet fits the eye protection that you intend to wear. Full face helmets typically are designed to be worn with goggles. This is what you want when you're racing enduro or downhill. Most road cycling, cross country, and trail helmets are designed to be worn with glasses. As you can see, my half shell helmet and my glasses fit perfectly. There's no issues with fitment. The glasses fit on my face as they're supposed to while wearing the helmet. There's no obstructions keeping me from seating the glasses where they're supposed to go. So if you have a pair of cycling glasses or goggles, it's important that once you get a helmet to try it on and make sure that it works with those glasses or goggles that you own. The third point I want to discuss is coverage. Obviously, a full face helmet has the most coverage that you can get. It covers the entire back of your head, all along the sides, and even protects your face with this chin bar. Half shell helmets are not all created equal. Some have more coverage than others. Half shell helmets that are meant for more aggressive riding have a longer extended portion in the back that covers more of the back of the head. It also has more coverage around the temples and side of the head as well. Whereas a helmet more designed for average trail riding or even cross country is going to have less coverage in the back and less coverage around the sides. This makes the helmet lighter and have better airflow so it doesn't feel quite as hot on your head. So there's a trade-off to be had. It's important to match the type of helmet to the type of riding that you're doing, like I said in step 1. The fourth thing to consider when purchasing a helmet is Virginia Tech's crash test results. Virginia Tech tests in their lab all the latest and greatest helmets and keeps a catalog of their test results for us as consumers to view and review. On their website, it'll explain exactly how their grading system works, but it's important to note that you need to select which type of discipline of riding you intend to do, because their testing is based on that type of riding. For example, if you pick a road cycling helmet, it is tested in a different way than a mountain bike helmet, and they explain this on their website. It's important to note that Virginia Tech's helmet testing doesn't take into account the level of coverage that the helmet provides. Test results are based on the impact reduction that each helmet provides, not necessarily the total amount of coverage. This is why step number 3 when purchasing a helmet was to determine what level of coverage that you need. Virginia Tech gives a score for each helmet, and the lower the score, the better. So take a look for any helmets that you're considering buying, and I would make sure to evaluate each one based on Virginia Tech's helmet test score as well. The fifth thing to consider when purchasing a helmet is price. You should be okay with replacing your helmet after a hard crash. The foam and other components of the helmet could be jeopardized, and it's important that you replace your helmet after a hard impact. If you're lucky enough not to have a hard crash, after 5 years the helmet should be replaced regardless. The materials begin to degrade and break down over time, and it's recommended that at the 5-year point you replace your helmet with a new one. Price doesn't always determine the best helmet that you can get. However, I would advise that if there's any piece of gear that you splurge on for cycling, it should be a helmet. Alright, that's going to wrap up today's Helmet Buyer's Guide video. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this information helpful in choosing a helmet. If you're new to the channel, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed. If you liked the video, hit that like button, and let me know what helmet you're using in the comments below. Do you like it? Do you dislike it? What would you change about it? Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.